Hello everyone and welcome to this video. We're going to do a Microsoft top-down analysis. It's Monday the 7th of August, just gone past quarter past 12 GMT time. My name's Russell Shaw. I'm a senior market specialist at FXCM. Please take note of my email address, rshaw@fxcm.com. I'm just going to bring up the disclaimers. We'll start off with a high risk investment warning. I'll keep this on screen for a few moments. Okay, let's bring up our market commentaries disclaimer. And our references. Okay, so before we get into the technical top-down analysis, we'll just go through some of the fundamental metrics. And we get these off of Simply Wall Street. And we'll start off with the PE ratio for Microsoft. It's currently at 33.7, and you can see that is lower than the industry PE of 47.4. And the next metric we'll look at is the revenue growth. So Microsoft's revenue growth is 10.9%, and that's versus the market average of 7.7%. And the future return on equity, we're looking about 3 years into the future. We expect it to be about 29.5% versus an industry return on equity of 11.2%. What's interesting about Microsoft is that it's reduced its debt from 92.2% to a favorable 22.9% over the past 5 years. And when we look at the debt being covered by its operating cash flow, well, the operating cash flow covers it by 185%. And so some favorable fundamental metrics there. Well, let's go ahead and bring up our chart. What we're doing is we're looking at Microsoft here on a monthly basis. We're going to do a top-down approach. And this green exponential moving average is the 5-month exponential moving average. The orange is the 10-month exponential moving average. And what you guys can see is that there's a golden cross in those moving averages. Okay. So the exponential moving averages, which is a trend following indicator, is in bullish mode. Another thing I'd like to draw your attention to is the RSI, and the RSI is on the positive side of 50. Let me just make that a border. That's better. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this type of analysis, if we go back to the last golden cross in the moving averages, we're looking a little bit there, all the way back in January 2015. And you can just see, as long as the RSI stays above that 50, you've got a nice trend. Okay. Got this nice trend. So 2022 was a bear market, pushed the RSI below 50. We're now back above that, and we've got that golden cross. Let's take a look at the weekly. And what I want to show you on the weekly is that we have a reference trough. Let's put that in. Okay, I've got a reference trough there. Let me do that again. Reference trough. Got a reference peak here. Once we've got the references in, we can see that the next in the series is a higher trough. Okay. Followed by a higher peak. So a higher trough followed by a higher peak, that's a uptrend. So we can see that Microsoft's in a technical uptrend on a weekly basis. And that's following the bullish mode of the monthly exponential moving averages, right? And we can carry on with the labeling higher trough, followed by, let's put the higher peak here. So it tends to be the peaks and troughs which enable us to draw trend lines. So if we connect these two troughs here, and we can draw the trend line in when this higher trough has been confirmed by this higher peak. And let's make this a green trend line. And that's defining the momentum. It's defining the momentum of the trend as defined by the peaks and troughs. And what we can do is we can draw in the next trend line over here. And there's two interesting things that have happened here. Okay, so from about April, the uptrend for Microsoft increases. The momentum increases. But what's subsequently happened over the last 2 weeks, you can see that we have a breach. We've got a breach of the. Here we go. We've got a breach right over here of the trend line. So from April, the momentum peaks up. Okay, it pops up, but then over the last 2 weeks, the momentum has slowed. The trend is still up. Okay, we've still got the higher trough followed by the higher peak. On the monthly, we've still got clearly a bullish mode. The green exponential moving average is on top of the orange 10-month exponential moving average. But you can even see on the monthly that there's some sort of convergence just over the last candlestick, and it's much more obvious on the weekly where there's a dip and a cross below this orange trend line. Nevertheless, the longer term trends are up. Of that, we can see the longer terms are up, but we can see that the momentum has slowed in the intermediate. And what we can do is we can go down to the daily chart and we can start looking for timing signals on the daily chart. And what we can do is we can bring in a support. So price is just at support, a daily support. And what we can look for here is for a golden cross of the exponential moving averages. So if we can see the moving averages here cross positively with the green exponential moving average popping above the 10-day exponential moving averages, and concurrently we want to also see the RSI pop above 50. So if we get those two signals, those two triggers, then we potentially have Microsoft showing that dip in an uptrend, and we've got, just to reiterate, a monthly exponential moving average formation on the a positive monthly exponential moving average formation, and then we've also got the higher trough followed by the higher peak on the weekly. The weekly we can see some moderation in that uptrend, and now we're looking for the timing on the daily just to see when the bullishness kicks back in. And even if we drift lower, just wait for that golden cross in the exponential moving averages, wait for that pop above 50, and then potentially the dip in the uptrend. So that's where we're going to leave it for this time being. Thank you very much for joining me, and look forward to speaking with you again in the near future.